Alright, so welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new news roundup video, and we're going to go over a few tidbits today, which has most certainly interested me. But as I was about to make this video, we've also had the trailer for Superman, not the new Superman coming out next year, but of course, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. As James Gunn says here, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story is a powerful and incredibly moving film that I cannot recommend enough. See it in theaters September 21st and 25th. And I've been wanting to see a little trailer. I've seen like little snippets leading up to this trailer, but we've actually now got the trailer. So I thought I'd do a bit of a react to it, highlight it here on the channel, just in case you didn't know about it already. I expect this to be pretty moving. But yeah, we're going to dive into this first before we get into other little topics in the video. As always, the video is timestamped with video chapters if you do want to skip around, but I recommend watching all of it to stay up to date with all of my takes. But let's check this out. Oh god, we gotta get the copyright music already.
Everybody's looking for a hero. I am not a hero. That was a part. I played the part. I'm not that man.
Hands down, he was Superman from day one.
I realized that if I could pull off this part, it would change my life.
John Houseman said, Mr. Reeve, it is very important to become a serious classical actor. Unless, of course, they offer you a load of money to do something else.
DC Studios.
He convinced me when I first met him that he would fly.
Doing things with my dad, it was all about activity and action. Riding bikes, playing soccer, skiing.
My dad was very competitive, and he didn't necessarily slow down.
We said goodbye, and he gave this wave. That was the last time I saw him on his feet.
Mr. Reeve currently has no movement or spontaneous respiration.
Superman, crazy. Just that simple little thing over the horse.
I'd ruined my life and everybody else's. I won't be able to ski, sail, throw a ball to Will. Won't be able to make love to Dana. Maybe we should let me go.
She came flying in, and she just yelled, "I love you. I love you."
And then she said the words that saved my life. You're still you, and I love you.
Oh man, that's getting me.
He and Robin were such good friends because they could match each other.
Robin also had struggles that he dealt with his whole life, and I think that they both were aware of darkness.
Brother Chris is fighting like crazy. When you find people who fight like that but still keep their humanity, that gives you great hope.
That is tough because I can feel him, but he can't feel me.
It must have been hell for my mom, too, knowing what she had lost.
I felt I needed to do something, not just for myself, but for everyone else in the same condition.
The fact that Superman was in a wheelchair and was willing to go public with it was huge.
Help is on the way.
The Christopher and Dana Reeve Paralysis Act.
People are literally walking because of him.
What is a hero? My answer was that a hero is someone who commits a courageous action.
This is too much.
Without considering the consequences. Now my definition is completely different. I think a hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles.
I wouldn't have missed this for the world.
Only in theaters. Get tickets now. My god, guys. I don't know if you could tell, but that one really punched me in the gut. Like, you know when you're like welling up right before a sneeze? I literally feel like in a permanent like mode like that. Man, that was so moving, and I cannot wait to see this movie. I know a lot of people, especially in this audience, know who Christopher Reeve is, and obviously Superman and, what he went through, which, as this trailer just depicts, it's unimaginable what kind of impact that would have on your life, your family's life, the support he still had and showed there from his wife, his family, what he went on to do, to be a literal Superman for other people in real life. Like, I don't really, know too much more of which I could say at this point, other than that trailer kind of speaks for itself. And I will definitely be going to see this. And I don't know about you guys, but my God, I'm glad, a documentary like this has been made, and it's going to highlight a very, what seems to be comprehensive journey and story about Christopher Reeve that, I think people are aware of, but I don't think they're quite aware of all the various facets that this documentary is going to get into. So, yeah, that trailer crushed me, but in like a really good kind of way. I don't know about you guys, but we've actually had some other trailers recently, guys. Before we go back to DC in just a second, I wanted to touch on something else. And as many of you know, I'm a big The Lord of the Rings fan. We have The Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim trailer, and I think this looks really cool. I mean, I've been looking forward to this for quite a while because they announced it ages ago, and they've been working on it, and now we've got the full trailer. They play a bit of live action The Lord of the Rings from Peter Jackson's movies, and then kind of like cast you into the animation, which is set, I believe, a couple of hundred years before the War of the Ring. And I've seen some people say that the animation is bad, and okay, I don't know what you guys, like, I've always said this, I'm not a connoisseur of animation, and I, don't always review animated things. I wouldn't say I'm very, very, very experienced. But looking at this, I think it's insanely detailed. And I personally dig it. I dig the motion of it. What I would say is there's no other way for me to kind of explain this, but I do feel like the DC Tomorrowverse, like last few movies, I feel like I'm not so much of a personal fan of like the simplicity of some of the animation, or at least what feels simple to me, because again, I don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to animation, but this seems really detailed, and I like the detail, the texturing of it, the way they kind of incorporate really kind of 3D almost moments, like when that bridge comes down, or like when the trees are moving as the horse is galloping, also with a bit of the, usual animation. I think it just looks really, really cool that way. Really cool. Okay. And I just got back from cleaning up a whole spilt coffee all over my desk and under the desk. But anyway, back to War of Rohirrim. Let me know what you think of it if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, if you like the look of the animation and the story that is being teased, because I do. And another little tidbit here that I just wanted to bring up to get some of your guys' opinions on. According to Discussing Film here, who are actually re-reporting it from Jeff Snyder, Keanu Reeves almost played Master Soul in The Acolyte, but couldn't due to scheduling conflicts. Lucasfilm is very interested in casting Reeves in a different Star Wars project, which would have been... I can see where they were going with that, considering Carrie-Anne Moss played that master who got taken out by, not Osha, freaking May, and they would have had Master Soul played by Keanu Reeves, and that would have been a bit of a Neo and Trinity reunion there. So the thing about this is, I would love to see Keanu Reeves play a Jedi, and funnily enough, Master Soul, even though I really like how Lee Jung-jae played that character, and he was one of the good things about The Acolyte, even though I do disagree with the way they treat his character towards the end of it, but I can see Keanu Reeves play Master Soul, if you know what I mean. But a long fan cast for Keanu Reeves has been Revan from Knights of the Old Republic, but just wanted to bring this up because that would have been... I don't know, I'm glad that he wasn't in it in retrospect, because we all know how well The Acolyte did. I think if Keanu Reeves was to be in something, we'd want it to be a Star Wars project that is like everyone is pretty unanimous in enjoying. And if they ever do an old, like, Knights of the Old Republic, so I'm not talking High Republic, I'm talking Old Republic, then... that would be great. But you can definitely see what they were trying to do. They got Carrie-Anne Moss trying to get Keanu Reeves, but didn't end up happening. And I think it would have been a bit wasted if Keanu Reeves was cast in The Acolyte. But now we need to delve back into the DC Universe side of things, because we also had James Gunn kind of do a bit of a happy anniversary post to Jimmy Olsen here, saying happy anniversary to Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, who debuted on this day in 1941, although he did appear earlier as Office Boy in Action Comics 6. So what's cool about this is that, other than him saying, I can't wait for you to see Skyler Gizondo's portrayal in Superman on July 11th, 2025, we have a few comic book panels, but we also have what looks to be a bit of like a screen test, camera test, costume test, if you will, of Skyler Gisondo playing Jimmy Olsen. And I think we're all in agreement that Skyler Gisondo looks very Jimmy. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the Clark and Jimmy friendship in this film. And, there's all kinds of things, as you guys know with me, that I would love to delve down and turn this all into a discussion series episode right now. But it's like, hey, does he know that Clark is Superman at this point in time? But Lois may not. So Jimmy knows that Clark is Superman, but Lois doesn't know that Jimmy knows that Clark is Superman. There's all these kinds of things that we have yet to find out about. Who knows? But maybe Jimmy does already know, because he's managed to already get a few good snapshots of Superman saving that train, and another one as well. And sure, you could just say that Jimmy was being a good photographer there, but he also could have got a heads up from his buddy Clark saying, hey man, I'm in the suit, I just saved someone, hey, get down here and you could take a little photo maybe. So maybe we are hitting the ground running, as we are with Superman. He's been saving people for a few years to be at least called Metropolis's most famous hero, whatever that newspaper said, or like most popular, something like that. So maybe Jimmy does already know. See, I'm already into a tangent right now. And if you want a bit of tangenting, by the way, go watch my previous video from Friday where we get into all kinds of speculation about the DCU. Also, do you know what this makes me think of, Mr. Gunn? Well, considering I'm seeing a kind of, costume test, screen test kind of look of Jimmy here, I would love to get something from Lois, of Clark, or anything else. Anyone from the... What about Guy Gardner? Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl. With that, we've all seen it in set leaks anyway. So, crumbs, Gunn. I need more crumbs. Like, I'm not trying to look a gift horse in the mouth here, but I just feel like there's so much Gunn could put out there. And I'm not even talking like official super duper kind of glamorized up. I'm just talking like plain photos like this. That would be great crumbs for us DC fans to feed on. So that's a good idea, actually. Let me know what or who, which character would you like to see next in a casual kind of photo way like this. Now, up next, we have kind of an update about the Batman Part 2. And what was interesting about this is that Mattson Tomlin said something about it, of which, Mattson Tomlin's usually, to be fair, Matt Reeves and both Mattson Tomlin are very quiet when it comes to anything about the Batman Part 2, saying that and he's kind of reconfirming here what we initially heard from Andy Serkis a while back, it's shooting next year, we're gearing up, and I will say that the bar just couldn't be higher. Matt Reeves is like no other. He is a true artist who is operating in a world where sometimes art doesn't get to flourish. And that's something that I think we can all agree with regards to, how Matt Reeves operates. He is an absolute perfectionist, which is why, when people say that Matt Reeves is a perfectionist or he's like really trying to get everything right with the script, this, that, and the other, it really is no hyperbole there. It's like he really is taking his time to get everything right. Sure, there was the strikes and other things, but when people say that the Batman 2 is taking a while, surely the script is done now. It's like, well, believe it or not, like, yeah, sure, we're hearing more updates now with regards to like filming next year, but I'm sure Matt Reeves is, crossing every T and dotting every I he absolutely can before the last day he needs to like really have that slammed down on the table for with regards to finally moving on to the next stage. But all I have to say is here, even though we've heard some whispers here and there about how the script still isn't finished, the fact that they know it's shooting next year and that they're gearing up, as Mattson Tomlin says here, and Matt Reeves is acknowledged next year as well, Andy Serkis, they know that it's going to be ready by then. And in fact, I'm sure a lot of the script is done, if not kind of done, to the point of where they're like going over it, maybe going to certain parts and maybe, seeing, does this need to be in here? Or maybe we need, just a draft, and then drafting another draft, and then the draft after that draft before you're finally ready to hand in your final draft kind of thing. So they're gearing up. They're that confident that they're going to film next year. Now, will it be early next year? Hopefully so. He just says next year. Andy Serkis said early next year, and Zoe Kravitz recently said that she doesn't really know when. She just, is going to wait for a call from Matt Reeves, which is interesting because when we heard Andy Serkis talk about it, he said early next year. And that was a good sign a couple of months back because it made, you think that a lot of the cast and crew have been informed that, hey, don't book this up, don't book that up because we're looking to do this early next year. Whereas Zoe Kravitz was a bit more, maybe she was just playing it a bit more coy, I don't know. But it's just good. It's just another little nugget, even though I want more nuggets now, about part 2, from one of the co-writers, Mattson Tomlin, really gearing up. We also have to talk about something kind of maybe Batverse related here, but it could be also DCU related, because we had Mike Flanagan being asked about if he would do something with DC. And if you watch the video side of this, it says a bit more than this quote here, in where Home of DCU say, I've always been a huge fan of James Gunn as a person and filmmaker, and that is a universe I would absolutely love to be a part of. But I'm telling you, when you actually watch the video, they're both playing fairly coy, Mike Flanagan and his wife there, because, they're being asked about being seen in Paris with some of the other DCU stars. Maybe I'm showing some of those photos on screen right now, and Peter Safran, co-head of DC Studios, and immediately they're kind of deflecting and point out the shirts in the crowd saying directed by Mike Flanagan, like really, really nice, and they're not answering the question at all, but obviously so to steer away from it, which intuitively and instantly tells you that, like, okay, they're like playing off the whole thing of like maybe there is something but they can't really fully talk about, and that wouldn't have even really have been the purpose of the Paris trip. But Mike Flanagan, if you know, has been a name for a while when it comes to DC, such as Clayface and things like that for the past couple of years, that they're playing into that here with this initial response. But then we have Mike Flanagan say that I will say that I've always been a huge fan of James Gunn as a person and a filmmaker, so the quote I just read out, and that is a universe that I would absolutely love to be a part of. And this is where he also says, and we were having a good time. And I'm sure he just means Paris there. But again, he's kind of, with the cadence of his voice, his articulation, he's tiptoeing around something. And then even the host says, oh, I didn't know about this, and something DC. And that's when Mike Flanagan is literally like, so like he's, again, like slammed down on it like 3 times here. He's flirting with the idea maybe there is, something, but okay. And then that's when Kate Seeger was like, don't say anything, because he was also asked about his favorite DC character, and he didn't really want to say it right away because he was thinking now everyone, it's going to become a thing, people will think I'm doing that. But he did say if you Google hard enough, maybe you'll find, and that is probably to do with the previous Clayface movie or series that he wanted to like take off the ground, and that was very much so a rumored thing a while ago. Was it for the Batverse, or was it more for Gods and Monsters Chapter 1? That's actually what Deadline said themselves. So I will say that with the amount he kind of flirted with that, I do think they've had absolutely conversations. As I've said before, I think when there's smoke, there can be fire, obviously, but you could also have maybe something, in this weird analogy, not come to a full blazed fire, but maybe the sparks can still strike a bit of smoke with the kindling, but it doesn't quite take off. I think that's what they've had before with conversations between Mike Flanagan and DC, and there still is something that they're probably planning to do in the long run, maybe not in the next year or 2, but in maybe the next few years, in where he will bring something to fruition. Now, I've seen some people even toss Clayface aside and say, let Mike Flanagan do DCU Constantine. And I just thought to myself, I don't know if I've actually thought of that before. I mean, I'm a big fan of Mike Flanagan's work, and I love Constantine, but imagining now, because most people say like, oh yeah, a Clayface movie, and he would do a great job at that. Like, it's a no-brainer, absolutely. But imagining him doing, Mike Flanagan's Hellblazer, that would be sick. But Mike Flanagan is seemingly, knowing something that we don't quite know yet, and we may learn in the next year and a half potentially. But what would you like that to be? I would be over the moon if he joined the DCU, and it's great just hearing him express his interest in that in the official capacity. But moving on here, we also have a bit of a reaction that came out. You may have heard that David Corenswet was auditioning for Superman when he was filming Twisters, you know, with Glen Powell, and they also mentioned how there was a video out there where they all reacted to him actually getting the role of Superman. And as you can see here, everyone just goes absolutely nuts. Quite literally, you have them jumping up and down in the background. You have Glen Powell there just freaking out. They're obviously like over the moon for him. I kind of wish that Corenswet was in this video as well, but obviously he wasn't there, but maybe they had heard about it over the phone. But speaking of Glen Powell, we did get a quote recently where he says that, "I've never gotten a call from DC or Marvel, but I'm a fan of everything they do. I just saw Deadpool and Wolverine, and I had a freaking blast. I think James Gunn, Peter Safran, and what they're doing at DC, I think it's going to be really, really good for that business." So he's obviously aware of what's going on. And yeah, a lot of people want Glen Powell in the DCU. I have seen so many fan castings of this man at this point. He's clearly a top choice for a lot of you guys, whether that's for Booster Gold, even though that's looking to be Kumail Nanjiani now, whether that's even Bruce Wayne Batman. Like, I feel like everyone wants Glen Powell to play anyone in the DCU. And what I would say is that I've really warmed up to the idea of Glen Powell being somebody, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just wouldn't want to say Bruce Wayne. But what I would say is, after watching a few more of his films as of late, I'm kind of like, you know what? Like, because sometimes when I hear fan castings, it's not like I have anything against the actor, but it's like, oh, okay, we're going with the easy choice. Oh, wait, what? Raven, Jenna Ortega? Oh, of course. Oh, okay, wait. For Superman, Once Upon a Time? Or no, wait, let's just say Batman. Alan Ritchson. Oh, like Jensen Ackles. It's just, can we think outside the box a little bit? But with that being said, because I felt the same way about Glen Powell, after seeing a few more of his things, I was like, you know what? He should be somebody. If they could get him, it would be good if they could get him to be someone. Now, honestly, I couldn't tell you who that is because, no, I don't personally have a large desire for him to be, you know, my DCU Batman. Wouldn't cry about it if that happened, not at all. I'm just saying, like, I'm not on that train necessarily, but yeah, it's good to know that maybe he's kind of open to it. I mean, he didn't really say that, but he says he's never got on a call, but maybe if he did, like, he thinks it's going to be really, really good for that business, and maybe there is a future where we could get Glen Powell in it. But let me know a fan casting that isn't necessarily one of the Trinity. Now, last little tidbits for this news roundup tidbit video. We do have James Gunn replying to this user saying, "If you had a chance to cast any of the Guardians of the Galaxy stars in the DC Universe, who would you cast them as?" And he says, well, that would be a spoiler, wouldn't it? Now, the reason why that is interesting, it's not just something we've already heard before with regards to, okay, yeah, James Gunn has said that he will be working with the Guardians of the Galaxy cast in his DCU. But the interesting one about this one is that the way he replies is kind of like implying that if he said the character from the Guardians of the Galaxy, it would kind of give away what he might actually already be doing. Do you know what I mean? Because he could just say, oh yeah, Chris Pratt is like, you know, this person in the DCU. He doesn't want to say it because if he did, he might be giving away who he's actually already said, hey, Chris Pratt, like, you know, this might not be for another 4 years in the DCU, but you're going to be this character. I'm that confident about it. You're not officially cast now, but you're going to be that character. So when he's answering this now, he's just like, well, that would be a spoiler, wouldn't it? Because I think he already knows. Now, this could be going back to Pom Clementieff, by the way, because out of all the Guardians of the Galaxy crew and cast that we've known about, the most consistent one has been Pom Clementieff talking about how she has been talking to James Gunn about a role, and she can't really say too much, but it involves a lot of action and stuff, and it's always breathed, you know, more fuel into the idea of that she could be a part of that Korean Huntress movie, which we've heard, like, rumors have fallen completely flat on that for what I would say is like the past year, or like coming up to a year now. But I would say that my bet would be with Pom Clementieff out of even Chris Pratt or somebody or anyone else for now. even though I can see a lot of, you know, the Guardians being in the DCU. You know, I can imagine Karen Gillan, as a lot of people would want her to be Poison Ivy. She could easily be some character or somebody. I'm not saying even Poison Ivy, but someone like that in Gotham. You could have Chris Pratt be somebody, Dave Bautista eventually. I'm not saying they all have to be injected in the first 3 years of the DCU, nor do I think we should expect that. But I'm not against it either, because some people are like, oh, you know, why do we need to see the Guardians of the Galaxy in the DCU? Well, I don't have anything against James Gunn's ideology of, hey, if you've worked with actors, you know they're good actors and they fit a certain character that you would also like to explore, you kind of do go with somebody maybe sometimes that you already know. Do you know what I mean? So who do you think James Gunn is on about here? But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end this video here. That's everything I've got to say for today. Definitely check out my previous video if you haven't done so already. We nerd out for like a good almost hour about some DCU rumors, even if some of them, or maybe even all of them, are BS. We have a lot of interesting discussion in that video, so definitely check it out. But if you've made it this far, would really appreciate it if you not only let me know your thoughts on the various topics of today's video, but maybe leave a like on the video to show your support, and consider subscribing for more updates just like this. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna love you and leave you. I'll probably see you in a couple of days time. I'm busy tomorrow, so we're gonna have to wait and see. But until then, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see all of you people of the DCU and other universes in the next video. Goodbye.